long division is not restricted. Long division is not restricted. So I know that synthetic is shorter, but you can only use it with certain problems. So I'm not going to waste my time and yours by going over 2 when 1 is not restricted. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and start 1. Now, long division is nothing but a procedure, just like you did back in elementary school. 2 will go into 7, or let's go 13. 2 will go into 13 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. And what do you always do right here? You always what? Subtract, Hubert. That's right, class. And then you have a 1, and that 1 is a remainder. You can rewrite this as 6, and I'm sorry, 2 will go into 13. You can rewrite that 6 times and then 1 over 2. Or you can say 6 with a remainder of 2. I'm sorry, 1. Sorry, with a remainder of 1. And that's how you wrote the answer. Everybody with me? Okay. So I want everybody to acknowledge that you know how to do long division. Okay, because everybody should know how to do long division. The procedure is the same. So if I give you x minus 1 will go into x squared plus 2x minus 3. I'm just making one up. Then what do you need to do as far as procedure? Well, I'm going to show you what the way I learned it. I would treat x as a kite and the -1 as the tail. Okay? Kite and tail. Why? Because wherever the x goes, the -1 is going to follow. Okay? Don't tell me my screen is frozen. Am I coming in okay?
Yeah, you're coming in fine for me.
Okay, it might be. Okay. See if y'all can come in, and then I'll bring you in if I have to. Just let me know, okay? It's stuttering a little for me. Oh, great. Okay, maybe it's just y'all's internet. Maybe it's not mine for once. Okay, so x is all I'm going to concern myself with. So x minus 1 into x squared plus 2x minus 3. I'm only going to worry about. I'm going to put a green highlighter. Oh, okay. What did you do, Mr. Bates? I clicked away from the stream and it flicked off. What explain that?
Like I clicked on another tab and it made it automatically freeze.
Okay. That's interesting. Maybe you were in another application that was eating up something, bandwidth or something. I don't know. All right, so what am I going to do? Well, how many times will x go into x squared? Well, you got to think in terms of exponents. So that would be x times, because x to the first times x to the first is x to the second. That's one of the problems students have. They want to say x will go into x squared 2 times. No, that's not correct. That would be 2x. Well, x will go into x twice. Well, that's fine, but that's not the way it goes. X will go into x squared x times. Okay? Mr. Cruel, I'm going to mute you, okay? I hate to do that, but you got home. I'm glad people, okay, he muted himself. I'm glad people are honking. I'm glad people are voting, as long as they're educated voting. I hope they're not voting because they feel like they got to vote or because somebody else is voting. As long as they're educated, I hope they vote. Okay. That's okay, no big deal. I'm just glad you're voting. All right, x will go into x times, so x times x is x squared, and x times -1 is -1x. What do we always do out here? What did we do up here? We always what? We always subtract. So I'm going to subtract. Now, again, students do things differently. You can either subtract out here with a big subtraction symbol, or you can distribute that negative and make this a little negative and make this a positive. I don't care how you do it, as long as you do the way that you're comfortable with. You can either make a big negative out here and say x squared minus x squared and 2x minus a -1x, or you can distribute that big negative out here with two little negatives. And that's what I do. So that would make this a negative and make this negative a positive. Now that's the way I do it. And what should happen every time you do this? The column to the left should what? It should cancel. And then you just do the math and bring this down to help out. So 2 plus 1 is 3x. Sorry, Corona. 3x minus 3. That comes down to help out. And how many times will x go into 3x? Now you can say 3 times. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times -1 is -3. And we always subtract. And that gives this a negative and gives this a positive. And the 3x's cancel. That's what's supposed to happen. And the 3 cancel also. So there's no remainder. So x minus 1 will go into x squared plus 2x minus 3, x plus 3 times. I'm going to highlight that green because that is the answer. There you go. And that's long division. Well, here, why does everybody have a problem with long division? Well, this is a basic problem, and there's nothing missing. There's no negatives involved. It's just, you just straightforward. Well, what do you need to do if something is missing? Well, that's what I'm fixing to go over now. There's one rule of long division. Always make sure all place values are accounted for. Okay, you have a divisor and a dividend. Okay, one divides into the other. I can't remember, since elementary school, I can't remember all the names of them. But you've got, let's take the last problem. You've got x minus 1 into x squared plus 2x minus 3. What does that actually say? Well, everything has a coefficient and everything has a variable in algebra. Well, what do you mean, Hubert? Well, I could rewrite this as x to the first minus 1, and I'm going to do this in yellow, x to the 0 divided into x squared plus 2x to the first minus 3x x to the 0. Now, I want everybody to understand what I just did. In algebra, there's always a coefficient of 1, and there's always a variable. Now, that variable may be x to the 0. Okay, my hand just froze up, so I don't know. There. Okay. It may be x to the 0, but it's still there. And this x to the first, it has a coefficient of 1, and this one has a coefficient of 1. So can I make every term in algebra a coefficient and a variable? Yes. And within the parameters of that term, that equation or expression, and this expression, the values that are there have to be accounted for. So let's see if they're accounted for. Well, x to the first, x to the 0. Yes, they're accounted for. X squared, x to the first, x to the 0. Yes, all these are accounted for. So you don't have to worry about place value on this problem, because this problem, everything is accounted for as far as being down from x to the first and being down from x to the second, because everything is accounted for. Well, what's not accounted for? Well, I'll show you one that's not accounted for. Let's go with x minus 1 into x squared plus 3. All right, let's write everything out with the yellow marker. Okay, this is 1 x to the 0, x to the first, minus 1 x to the 0. So everything's accounted for there, because we got something here and we got something here. Into 1 x squared. What comes next? Plus, we got to have an x to the first term, but there's not one there, so we got to add one. 0x to the first plus 3x to the 0. Now everything's accounted for. So you've got to either put a blank here or you've got to put a 0 term here. That is place value. You cannot do long division without accounting for a space. Now, let me ask some of y'all, and that means I want you to talk. Okay? Some of y'all use a space. Some of y'all use a blank. Some of y'all use a 0 term. Name some of the things that y'all use or been taught, or do you even remember this?
My last class, they just had us do the 0x to the first.
Yeah, in other words, it might be 0x to the second, 0x to the fifth. You got to hold a value. Some teachers just leave a space. Some teachers leave a blank. So I was just asking if some of y'all had any input there. Okay, thank you. Appreciate y'all's input. So how do I know how far to go? Well, this is to the second power. When you get through checking your place value, you should have an x to the second, an x to the first, an x to the 0. It should go from your highest degree to 0. Here, I have x to the first and x to the 0, so everything's good there. Here, x to the second, so I need something because I got x to the 0 right there. I've got to have something in here. And that's how you account for your place values in long division. Whether it's a blank, whether it's a 0 term, or whether it's a space, just nothing there. Any question on that? Because this is the most important rule of long division. Every place value within the descending from the highest degree has to be accounted for. Okay, I'm gonna put my enrollment up. Now I want to make sure, does everybody understand that? I want you to raise your hand so I can get a good consistency from the class. If everybody understands that every place value has to be accounted for. Hands, please. Leave them up. I want to get at least 7, okay? Okay. We got 9, 10. Okay, good. You can take them down now. Thank you. All right, so let's do one. Let's do some more. I'm going to go to the handy dandy. I'm going to pull up a problem on the PowerPoint because I'd rather do long division that's actually already done instead of making some up, because sometimes when you make some up, it doesn't help. Okay, so here's one. All right, let's try that one. Let's see, my slideshow, current slide. There we go. So x minus 3. Where's my black pen? X minus. Oh, I switched caps. I suck. There we go. X minus 3 into 3x cubed minus 2x plus 5. Well, the first thing I've got to do is the first rule of division. I've got to make sure I've got all mine from x to the first down to x to the 0 and x to the third down to x to the 0. So I'm going to get my yellow marker, and I've got 1 x.
Still looking at the PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting there. Hold on. There we go. 1x to the first minus 3x to the 0. So both of those are accounted for. We're good on the outside. 3x to the third. So we got to make sure we got everything from the third power. So the next one is going to be plus 0x to the second power minus 2x to the first power plus 5x to the 0 power. So it looks like to me we've got everything except for one term. And that one term is the yellow term right there. It is, I'm going to highlight that. I'm not going to highlight a highlight. I'm going to take my pink pen and I'm going to put a line under that one. That's the only term missing. So I'm going to rewrite my problem like this. X minus 3 into 3x to the third plus 0x squared minus 2x plus 5. And now I'm ready to do my long division. So this right here is the #1 rule of long division. Okay, now I put a baby step in there, but that's how you're supposed to do it, whether you do it in your head or whether you do it outright. Now, where is my kite? My kite is x. I care less about that 3. That's all I care about is that x. How many times will x go into 3x to the third? Well, that would be 3x squared because this is to the first, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So I multiply, that'd be 3x to the third, and then 3 be negative 9x squared. And what do we always do? We always subtract, which would make this a negative and make this a positive. And of course, what's supposed to happen on the left side? That's supposed to go out. And 0 plus 9 is 9x squared. And negative 2x comes down to help out. Again, you're worried about the kite. You don't care about the tail. X will go into 9x squared, 9x times, because that's to the first, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So 9 times 1 is 9, and x to the first times x to the first is x squared. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27x. We always subtract, so that would make this a negative and make this a positive. The one on the left always cancels. And negative 2 plus 27 is 25x. And the 5 comes down to help out. How many times will x go into 25x? 25 times. 25 times x is 25x. 25 times 3 is negative 75. We always subtract. That makes this term negative and makes this term positive. And the left side always cancels. And we have a remainder of 80. I'm going to show you how to write the two possible answers with that 80 remainder. So x minus 3 will go into 3x cubed minus 2x plus 5 this number of times with this remainder. So the answer could be written like this: 3x squared plus 9x plus 25, comma, or plus, depending on what book you're in, 80 plus 80 remainder. And you could put an R with that, or you could just leave it 80, okay? I like to put an R with mine just so students or teachers or whoever is grading will not make a mistake and think that that's just 80. It is a remainder, okay? Some people put a comma, some people put a plus. Another way to write it is just like you would 6 and 1/3. You write the top right here, and then you put the remainder over the divisor. So that's going to be 3x squared plus 9x plus 25 plus 80 over x minus 3. And that is the two ways to write your answer. And that's basically long division. Now we're going to do a couple of more because you got a couple that have negatives and a couple that have, you know, different place values missing. And that's why I'm going to go through a couple of more. And plus, this is the last thing on your test, which I have already uploaded today. But your test is not due until Wednesday of next week. So you have 2 days next week to actually ask questions or send in questions, because nobody has sent in any questions. So I'm assuming that y'all understand 4.1. Okay. That's the way I do things, the way I've been doing things for a long time. Let's see what they get. Where's their answer? Is that their answer? Yeah, there it is. Now they write a sentence, and that's fine also. But this is just like the one on the left where I had the 80 with the R beside it. That's just the same thing. We'll leave that on the board just for a second, so that way if you're watching the video, you'll see that that's the answer. Okay, there we go. The divisor is x minus 3. The dividend, I thought it was divisor and dividend. So that's the quotient. And that's how you would write it the second way I told you to write it. So this is just like your 6 and 1 over whatever, I think it was 6 and 1/2. Okay, 6, 1 over 2, just like grammar school. The only difference is in grammar school, you didn't put a 6 plus 1 over 2. You just wrote 6 and 1/2. And with a trinomial, I think you can understand why they put a plus there, because if you put 3x squared plus 9x plus 25, 80 over x minus 3, you could understand it could be confusing. This is where they get into synthetic. I'm not going to get into synthetic because that it takes too much time to go through 2 when you can only use 1 half the time. All right, so let's do this one by long division. X plus 2 into 5x cubed minus 6x squared minus 28x plus 8. And it looks like we got all our terms, but we're going to check it just to make sure. I need to turn my camera because I got it the way I want it. Now I'm going to go through and check everything, and I'm going to make, well, I've got an x to the first and an x to the 0. 3, 2, 1, 0. So I've got all my place values accounted for. So I don't really have to do anything. I'm going to rewrite it, but I'm just go ahead and get started because I don't have any place values that's missing. So x minus 2 into 5x cubed minus 6x squared minus 28x plus 8. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to see how far you can go on this one. I hope you finish it. And if you can't finish it, we'll make fun of you. We'll all figure out who can't do it, and we'll make fun of you. How's that sound? Make fun of you, discourage you, make you quit class, bully you. Is that it? Bully you. We'll bully you. How about that? You want to be bullied, have a name like Hubert in K through 3. I had to fight all the time, like a boy named Sue. I'm looking at y'all's names to see if any of y'all have been blessed, like with a name like Hubert. And I'm looking. I don't really see anybody that's been blessed with a name like Hubert.
I got it for my last name.
What?
I got bullied for my last name.
Not Davis.
No, my old last name before I got married.
What was it?
Long.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
That's not bad, but anytime I spelled it for somebody because they didn't understand what I was saying, they would say, "That's not long, it's short." Like every grade, every year.
You always had somebody to say that, right?
Always.
Well, I always have somebody call me Herbert, even though there's not an R in my first syllable of my name. So that is probably the worst thing you could call me. I cannot stand to be called Herbert. And that's what everybody calls me. In fact, I was called that. I had a training session yesterday for the county land use board. I'm on the land use board, and the county administrator, he's been knowing me and my family for years. Him and my father worked together for many years, and he said, "How many classes you teaching, Herbert?" And I know he did it just to get under my skin because there was other people there, and he's known me for over 20 years. And I know that's what he did, so I just ignored it. I just said, I got 6. Herbert, you have 6? I said, yeah, I have 6. I wanted to cuss him out, but I didn't. Not in front of the people that were there. He was just trying to needle me because he knows I hate that name. So, but like I said, you got to have a sense of humor. Miss Stoner, that's funny. Miss Stoner. Actually, on Andy Griffith, there was a mayor named Stoner. Oh, Junie B. Jones. They didn't, okay, because of your first name. My nickname was Carrot Top. Oh my goodness, I guess you have red hair. Before he left, he went and named me Stu. I got a Johnny Cash fan. That's a good thing. I love Johnny Cash. Oh, I'm sorry, but Miss Stone, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I used to guy with a name Samples, Junior Samples, BR549. Oh me. The first few, I know. Everybody loves that rank in the Navy. Oh me. Okay. You are kidding. Johnny Cash is my grandfather's 5th cousin. Oh, that's neat. That is so neat. Too bad that he didn't disperse some of that money, right? People just tell me my last name is awesome. Whatever. Okay, let's get back to the program. Okay. So here we go. I'm only worried about this X. And yes, I'm going to keep highlighting it until y'all are sick of me highlighting it. X will go into 5x cubed, 5x squared, because that's a 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. X squared times x to the first is x to the third. 5 times -2 is -10. X squared times x to the 0 is x to the second. We always subtract, so that will make this a negative and make this a positive. And the left always cancels. Now, if you notice, I'm saying the same thing over and over. I've done this problem. This is my 3rd example. And if you notice, I'm doing everything the what? I'm doing everything the same. You don't change horses in midstream. You learn how to do it, and then you keep doing it over and over. It's called practice. Okay? -6 plus 10 is what? 4. And the -28x comes down to help out. It's hard for me to say practice, so I'm going to say extra work. Y'all get it? Sometimes it's hard for people to say those two things. So, oh my gosh, are y'all still on the names? Lord, my mom's name is Amy, and people comment about it. That's funny, Amy Ramey. Oh, I guess is that her maiden name? if that's her maiden name, I know she had to fight when she was in. I was fixing to say, if that was her maiden name, whoo, that'd almost be as bad as Hubert. And people say, well, Hubert, how did you get the name Hubert? Well, unfortunately, I live in a family. I was born into a family that's very, I don't know, clandestine or aristocratic or whatever. Not aristocratic, because we're sure not aristocrats. But they believe in naming their kids after family members, just like I named my son after his grandfather, his uncle, and his great-grandfather. So I was named after my father's great uncle. And I asked my father, I said, why did you name me after your great uncle? And he said, because he was my favorite uncle, and he'd let us go down, he would take us down to Florida with him, because he moved down to Florida during the Depression. And and back then, if you went to another state during the Depression, that was like going to Disney World. And he just thought so much of that uncle, and that's why I was named after. And if you're anywhere around, oh gosh, Belle Glade, Florida, that's where my uncle's family is down there, and they're all Chambleys. So if you know anything about Okeechobee and Belle Glade, Florida, the Chambleys are very, very widespread down there. I think he had 4 kids, and all of them had like 4 kids. So they got a lot of Chambleys down there. All right. So anyway, how many times will x go into 4x squared? Big old pass. Okay, 4. Y'all making me laugh. 4, that'd be a 4. And x to the first, that would be x squared. And 4 times -2 is -8. And x to the first times x to the 0 is x. We always subtract. That gives you that negative. Again, same exact methodology each time, same steps. -28 plus 8 is 20. -20. And you bring down the 8 to help out. Now be careful here because you got a negative now. So that means how many times will x go into -20x? -20 times. -20 times 1x is -20x. -20 times -2 is +80 or +40. Always subtract, which means that turns this into a positive and this into a negative. And that will make your first column cancel. And 8 plus 4 minus 40 is -32. And I'm going to put that in red because that's the remainder. And now you can rewrite your answer as 5x squared plus 4x minus 20 with a remainder of -32. Or you can write it as 5x squared plus 4x minus 20 plus -32 over x minus 2. And of course, that negative will make this a negative, which would be 5x squared plus 4x minus 20 -32 over x minus 2. So either one of those 3 answers could be your answer. Yes, Okeechobee. I don't know if that's exactly the way you spell it, but in fact, my uncle, he borrowed from my great aunt, his sister. He borrowed. Listen to this. He borrowed $50 to go down to Okeechobee. And he went down there and he bought him a piece of property, took out a loan and bought him a piece of property. I don't know how he did because it was the Depression. And he also got him a job for the state. I don't know, in construction. And bought him a piece of property, an acre of land, and he started farming that, because all our family has been farmers. That's all we've ever done all our lives. And he started farming that land. And when he died, he owned part of the Pioneer Seed Company down there. And he did very well for himself. And he was part of either he built the dam on Okeechobee, I don't know when it was built, or he helped rebuild the dam when the dam broke. I think down there, somebody in Florida tell me, I think the dam broke down there and caused a big flood down there. And I think he was either part of fixing it or he might have been part of the problem. I mean, that may be why it broke. He might have been part of the problem. But anyway, I'd have to look at the dates and see. But he had something to do with that dam of Okeechobee. Whether it was building it the first time or whether it was fixing it, I can't remember. Somebody have to Google it and see if the dam broke on Okeechobee. All right, so that's how you do long division. And I know our time is up. So I don't think anybody has come in that I was looking for. Let me look right quick again. Ellis, Lewis, and Wilder. Ellis, Lewis, and Wilder. So that means pretty much everybody's here that's going to be here. All right, any questions so far? Okay, I expect questions Monday and Wednesday because nobody has sent any. So y'all got the weekend. Have a good weekend, and I will see y'all Monday, okay? Yeah, sure, Hubert. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
All right, see y'all.
Thank you.